Hello, hello, and welcome to the Viewers Club October month. I love October. I don't know about you guys. Halloween's my favorite holiday of all time. And I love October because I watch a bunch of spooky movies during the month of October. I don't know if you guys do this.
So spooky.
It's tradition for me.
Yeah.
If anyone has followed me on my Instagram, I do this thing where during the month of October, pretty much every day, almost every day, I post one movie or one short series or something that you should watch during that day, or that I'm at least watching during that day. I've done it for 2 years on my own, and now I'm bringing in my friends here to help curate a list.
Yes.
Because we've all seen or wanted to see movies that we've never,
Yeah.
So I think it brings in a whole new order of the list. I know that some of these have been on my list all the time. One of them has been on my list both years and will continue to stay on my list because it's just tradition. So, welcome to the Viewers Club. My name is Megan.
My name is Tess.
My name is Lucas.
Yeah, and basically what we did is we have 31 movies that fall into the murder mystery or monster movie or horror movie genre, something that just screams Halloween, basically. Something that you wouldn't watch typically during Christmas.
Right.
Typically, I say that because people will know it's on my list when we get there. Typically. But yeah, I'm excited to share this list. I'm excited to hear your guys' lists and just kind of combine them. So what we did is we broke the list up into 3. Lucas and Tessa both have 10, and I have 11 because there's 31 days in October, and we had an extra day laying around, so, I just assigned it to me because I love this month. Anyway, let's get started on it. So, for me, the very first day, and I know that this is also coming out a few days after the 1st of October. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Get a binge a couple.
Yeah. Binge a couple for one night. So the first one on my list that I'm going to suggest are the 6 monster movie classics. So the 6 classics are all in black and white. They're made in the 30s and the 40s, and that is the originals of Frankenstein, The Bride of Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, The Invisible Man, and The Mummy. So the reason I kind of combined all of these together is 1, the movies aren't usually typically very long to begin with, and 2, I like to start off with a good classic monster movie, but I didn't want all 6 of them to take up 6 days on their own. I tend to watch all of these at the same time. I have a special DVD pack of all 6 of them. So they're the classic versions of films that you've probably seen a million versions of. There was the recent one for The Invisible Man, which I've heard about, but didn't really like the concept of.
I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, I didn't. I heard about the ending, and I'm just like, okay, that's. The next one is one that's been done before a bunch of times, which is The Mummy. The most recent one being Tom Cruise's. Dracula's been done a few times as well, and I don't know how many times after if Frankenstein, The Bride of Frankenstein, and Wolfman have been done. There have been plenty of werewolf movies out there, but I don't think Frankenstein or The Bride of Frankenstein have been done too much after this one. Most people just associate those movies with these classics, but that's my first one on the list, the 6 classic monster movies. And then I'm going to toss it over to Lucas. What is one that you would suggest?
I think one I would suggest is, I'm going to go with The Shining to top it off. I watched The Shining for the first time, I think last year, and it might have been around Halloween. Wow. Yeah, it was. It was a very recent watch for me, and it is just spine chilling. It still holds up as really terrifying to this day, and it's definitely stood the testament of time, and more so, it is really psychologically horrifying, because you can really see how terrifying it would be to be in those situations, and I I really really related to how Wendy reacted to everything. She was like, "What the hell is going on, Jack?"
That's how I would react.
She's like, "What the hell is going on?" She's like, just over it, out of it, just like, oh my gosh. So I would.
It's just a classic.
It is.
Horror movie.
It's a classic horror movie. You gotta see it.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Nicholson. That's all I'm saying.
That's it. Tessa, what is yours?
Yeah. All right. So for me, I grew up with. Let me rephrase that. I grew up in a family that didn't celebrate Halloween growing up. So
Oh wow.
for me, most of these films are very new, and I have a lot to watch. But for the first film that I want to bring up is the Addams Family. I feel like it's a classic, and I mean, I love it on stage in real live theater, but the movie does it justice as well, I think.
They're playing great versions of it, from the original television series of it to the 2000s version. That one's my favorite. The characters are so bombastic and crazy and out there. I just love that. It's such a good movie.
Angelica Houston is Morticia.
Yes.
She just is. I mean, there's no...
Wednesday Addams is me. She is who I aim to be in life. My favorite scene from that movie is like when she's like asking when Wednesday is like, "Can you pass the salt?" And then Morticia's like, "What do we say now?" And I'm just like,
now.
Everything is backwards in that family.
I love it
so much.
I love it so much. It's so dysfunctional.
Okay, so my next one is also going back to a classic musical, actually. I don't think Halloween can, I think Halloween can have musicals in it. So,
heck yeah.
Heck yeah. So my suggestion is Little Shop of Horrors. It's one that I saw last year, and in all honesty, it was pretty good, honestly. I just like that there's this alien plant coming down to consume human blood.
Right.
And it's so fun to watch, and the music is so upbeat for what's actually happening. But yeah, Little Shop of Horrors. That is mine. Lucas,
nice.
What's your next suggestion?
Kind of in the same vein of being, I suppose, an unconventional Halloween movie. I have Ghostbusters, which it has a ghost element, but it's quite, it has some freaky elements to it, but it's pretty much a comedy. And I remember.
We're talking about the original one?
Yes,
or
the original Ghostbusters.
Got it.
Bill Murray and
classic.
it was Sigourney Weaver.
Classic.
I grew up watching that many
Same.
times over, especially during Halloween, and I loved the second one too. I remember watching that one and the second one on repeat, and it was drove my parents insane. The opening scene itself is just you roll with laughter.
Tessa?
So okay, my next suggestion is Pet Sematary. I hate it. Go watch it. That's all I have to say.
Nice.
Stephen King, man,
No,
he has a messed up mind.
He has a way with horror.
Yeah,
Ooh,
it's very unsettling. And just don't like it.
Yeah.
So that makes it good.
It's eerie. And are you talking about the original one or the new one?
I don't know.
I think
I'm guessing the new one, probably.
If it came out in 2000s,
if it was on Netflix
point.
or Hulu, that's the one I saw.
Oh, okay, that would be the new one. Okay, because that one's
one.
actually different from the book.
Yeah.
And the original one is also a little different
than
the newer one, if I remember correctly.
They never.
But that one was done in
adapt.
the 80s, so it was very mild compared to what we do now. which is something we should look into or talk about later on.
Right.
Okay, so since we're throwing Stephen King into the mix, I have... It looks like I have 2 of his. I'm going to throw in one that I haven't seen. So usually I like to throw in at least one movie that I haven't seen before into this list because you get to watch a new movie and not be predicted. It's called, I believe this was his. Let me double check. But the film is called Geralds Game.
Yeah.
That is his?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a... What I understand about it is that there was like a fun little sexy game for sexy times being played by a wife and husband, and then the husband dies during it, but the wife is like handcuffed to the bed and she's stuck there with the dead body. So I'm like, yeah. So apparently it goes into some like psychological creepy stuff in it, like whether or not she's actually going to survive. You know?
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. It's very different from any horror movie I've seen before. There are those horror movies where they're like, you're stuck in a room with somebody.
Right.
Saw, basically. But this one's like, you literally can't leave. There's literally nothing you can do. Have fun. I'm just like...
Bye.
I don't know. I'm very interested to see it. Stephen King has a lot of great movies out there, and I've never seen this one, but I have heard good things about it, so it's on my list.
Yeah.
Lucas.
I think a good segue from Gerald's Game would be Dr. Sleep. Dr. Sleep is the sequel to The Shining, and both of them written by Stephen King. And he wrote Dr. Sleep pretty recently. I thought the book only came out in like 2016, or it was pretty recent. And it's directed by the same person that directed Gerald's Game, who is also the same person that made the Netflix show The Haunting of Hill House. And funnily, it was funny because I think Stephen King saw Hill House and saw some of this direct Mike Flanagan's other work, and then after he saw what he could do with Gerald's Game, I think then it went to Dr. Sleep. And so it all connects in a fun way. That it's also a film that I want to see. I haven't seen yet, but it looks really good, and I heard that it didn't actually do very well box office wise because they didn't advertise it as much, because I think they thought The Shining, the fans of The Shining
would help pivot it.
Yeah. So I do want to see it. It looks, not only does it look like a good movie, but it looks like it's shot really well.
Tessa, you're up.
Yeah, so one that I would like to see is called Death Becomes Her with Meryl Streep. I've heard a lot of great things about this film, and that it's very iconic, so I'm excited to like watch it. Nice. Have my own experience.
Cool. So the next one I have suggested, and it's because I recently watched the series on Amazon, and you guys, we had a small conversation about this before we started recording. The original 1945, I think, movie of And Then There Were None. It is based off Agatha Christie's book, and I think it's by the same name of it. And I watched this movie in middle school, and I remember I really liked it. And then to kind of give a bonus, if you want to have a binge-a-thon, the series is also really good. It's 2 episodes long. And personally, for anyone who hasn't seen either of these movies, I usually don't do this, but I think it's just better done and better told. Watch the new one on Amazon first. And I say that knowing that I'm somebody who likes to be like, watch the original first. That's usually my mentality. But I think for this one, in this case, I would watch the newer version of it first. But either way, I love Agatha Christie's one of my favorite suspense murder mystery writers. I think she's brilliant. And Then We Were None follows the story of 10 people invited to a house on an island to have a party with these people called the Owens. And they all did something horrible in their past, and they just get picked off one by one.
Love it.
Yeah, it's
Love it.
It's a really good story. It's really suspenseful. It's really hard to pinpoint who did what. It's a really good whodunit. I just love Agatha Christie, and I love having a good murder mystery, so that would be my suggestion. Watch either one in whatever order, but watch both of them, because they both tell a completely different story.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah.
Well, and I think, I honestly think that TV shows and kind of miniseries have a better shot at interpreting and adapting books.
It's not really because of that. It's been a really long time. I can't remember all of the details of what happened in the 1945 version, but you're also comparing completely different decades.
Right.
Where in the 40s, it was all about being really more conservative about what was on screen, while nowadays it's like, kill him.
Right.
Put all the blood in it. Do it.
Right. Yeah.
But that's a different topic that we can get into. So if you prefer something a little more modern that has more, quote, realistic tendencies toward it, it still takes place, I believe, in the 40s. It still takes place back then, so there's not modern technology, but there's a modern way of storytelling to it. So whichever one you prefer. If you like the classics, go for the 1945, but then definitely watch the newer version, because it's just as good. Okay, Lucas.
I am going to go ahead and I think I'm gonna so my next movie I'm gonna recommend is The Others, which came out I want to say the early 2000s. Yes, 2001, and it stars Nicole Kidman, and it's funny because my mom really loves this film, and if you know my mom, she hates horror films. She absolutely hates them, and my grandparents do too, and my grandmother's actually the one that recommended it.
Nice.
So it was all around.
Watching it already.
Yeah,
on the list.
It was. It's a very good suspenseful film. It really is able to capture the suspense because you really don't know what's going on, and it kind of presents itself as it's a regular haunted house movie, but there's more to it than meets the eye, and it's just a really fun story to explore. Nicole, and I love Nicole Kidman, so. But yeah, I would highly recommend The Others.
Nice. Tessa, your turn.
All right. So actually, I saw this movie with one of our babysitters when we were really young, and I was not allowed to watch it, but I did. And sorry, Mom, but Casper the Ghost. It was like
classic
animated, partially live action. I don't know. I remember
the live action.
It was really cute.
It looks so cheesy. It looks so really cheesy nowadays, but it was so cute.
Yeah, it was really cute one. So I like that.
Nice. Okay, for me, we're gonna go back in time to another classic. This is one that I've stated many times outside of The Shining that inspired me to be a filmmaker because I love Alfred Hitchcock. I put in Psycho. It's literally one of the first horror movies I've ever seen, that and The Shining. I actually watched both of them one night with my grandmother.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was the one who suggested both of them, so we watched them together. And that was my introduction to horror. But it was like, it's just a classic. It's really solidified me wanting to be a filmmaker. Psycho. It was just, I love Alfred Hitchcock. I love the way he tells stories. And I love the stories that he does tell. Lucas.
Oh, boy. I think I'm gonna go with. I think the next one I'm gonna introduce is sort of a. It was. I want to say it was more. It was a revolutionary film in terms of bridging the gap between horror and science fiction, and that film is Alien. Yes.
Yes. Thank you for putting that on your list.
Of course.
God, I love that movie.
Oh yeah, it's such a good movie, and I love Sigourney Weaver. And I love. I mean, she's fantastic in that movie, and her character's fantastic, and the story's fantastic. It was such a cool monster movie because it's in space. You're out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, literally, you know, you hear in space, no one can hear you scream. Like, no one would be able to. No, you're completely alone. And it is just it's actually terrifying, some of the things that you see. Oh my God. And yes. It just has all kinds of, you know, twists and different elements that hadn't come together in a movie before, but were done really well. So I would highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. It's a classic and it's a must.
Do a double feature, Alien and Aliens.
Yes.
The first two are amazing.
Absolutely.
So good. Tessa.
Okay. Another one that I want to watch would be Edward Scissorhands.
Yes.
I've heard a lot about it, and I've seen like little clips here and there. Clips. But yeah, I would like to see.
Tim Burton is also up there for somebody who makes some of the most very weird but very good Halloween type movies. And it's been a while since I've seen Edward Scissorhands, but I remember I really liked it a lot because it had a lot of human aspect in it as well. My next suggestion is Pan's Labyrinth. I think it's a really great fantasy movie, you know, but not just that, it also has some of the most terrifying monsters I've ever seen in my life. It's that whole, I don't know what the name of the monster is, the one without the eyes, and his eyes are in his hands, and he just has his eyes, you know.
Yes, I've seen
that. Is probably one of the most terrifying scenes ever, because it's told from the perspective of a kid who's living through a war right now, you know, but also all of this like fantastical stuff is happening around her, and it's, gosh, there's so much.
Right.
Lucas, what's your next one?
We're talking about Guillermo del Toro and Tim Burton, and I think both of them their movies have just, like you said, a Halloween vibe. Like they just feel like Halloween.
They're so out of the normal.
Yeah. Just something about their tone and the way they are. It's weird and whimsical and dark. And I think something that really captivates all of that is Coraline. Coraline is a 2009 stop-motion animated film. It's produced by Tim Burton. I don't think he directed it or like wrote it, but he had a hand in it. And it's evident. But Coraline is such a unique film in so many different ways. And it's really what got me interested in the idea of stop-motion animation. Because I love that art form now. I love that way of making a film. It feels so personal and intimate, and you have to dedicate so much time to it.
Yeah.
But I remember I saw it in theaters when it first came out, and I saw it with my dad, and we were both terrified. Just absolutely terrified. Like, we were not expecting what we thought to be kind of this, you know, maybe this dark fantasy kids movie to be that scary. Especially the ending. We were like, oh my God. We were just, you know, shaking in our seats. So, you know, it's a true Halloween film. I feel it has a lot of all of those elements of being creepy and just all around this dark adventure. And of course, it's Neil Gaiman, and he's perfect at that as well. So yeah, I would definitely recommend Coraline if you haven't seen it already.
Absolutely. Tessa, your turn.
Yeah. Continuing the thread of creepy, American Psycho is one that I recommend. With Christian Bale, it is disturbing and terrifying,
unnerving,
and then there's a huge twist, and then you don't know what's what anymore, and you feel like super confused, and it's like, did that really happen or not?
Awesome.
Yeah. Recommend.
Love it. Love that.
Wow. I need to see it, man. Christian Bale. God, what an actor.
He's a talent.
Right?
Yeah.
He goes all in.
He could have been, after seeing that, you're like, he could have been Batman and the Joker.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, man. And now to throw the genre completely on its head, because this is what this movie basically does, I'm throwing in The Cabin in the Woods by that was written and directed by Joss Whedon.
Oh my god.
Here's the thing. Say what you want about Joss Whedon. People have mixed opinions about him, whether he's like a genius or they just are annoyed by him. Say what you want about him. This movie is so good. One, it's kind of a comedy in itself. It's got such great comedic timing in it. And it explores the tropes and the cliches of horror movies in such an amazing way. It's got the jock, it's got the hot blonde, it's got the virgin, the druggie, you know.
Yeah.
It is so well done.
Yeah.
I love it. It's one of my favorites. It makes me laugh every time I see it. And I just like that it takes all those cliches and tropes and character arcs and stuff, and it just is like, I'm going to give them to you. Right. But I'm going to do it in a way that's going to make you laugh.
Right.
Because that's its job. It wants you to, like, it almost wants you to examine horror movies in such a different way.
Yeah.
After I saw that, I watched some other classic horror movies, and I was like, oh my god, I can't, like, not.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, before I had even seen it, I always thought it was, like, a really dark and, like, demonic movie.
Same, yeah.
It seems like
the,
that, especially
the
like the advertising.
It's not advertised.
Or
and then I watch it, I'm like, what?
Not to mention like poster for it.
Yeah,
like the poster makes it look so
it looks
creepy,
like
you know?
It's some like escape room maze thing, you know.
Like the house is actually haunted and it's gonna eat you, but it's
I'm like prepping for this, and then I'm like,
and then you start seeing everything that's happening, and you're just like, it's not. This is like
not what I thought.
Not what you. It's not what you think it is.
Nope.
Trust me, it's so good. It's just Lucas. What's your?
Oh, you know what?
One?
Oh man. Okay, so that. You saying that made me think of a better horror movie to put on this list instead of one that I have.
Just one to get rid of.
I already have. That made me think of. There's another animated one, and I like it when there's an animated movie that actually is terrifying and actually has a really good gripping story. And Monster House was one that I grew up with as a kid.
Same.
There's so many. Yeah, I mean that movie really scared me as well, but in a good way. It scared me, like, I think that's what I liked about it. The ending is
also really good, too.
Yes!
Honestly.
It is. It's just an all-around good movie, and it was also the first one where I'd ever been introduced to the idea of the motion capture. I didn't realize that they did that. But
they did. Wow.
Yeah, they did. Like the whole thing, they have.
I thought it was just animated.
No, yeah. All of the actors are motion captured that whole film, and that's why I think that's why it kind of looks fluid. And I love the direction. I loved the framing of the shots and how everything was filmed. It lent itself to that movie really well.
Tessa.
Okay, my next one is Get Out.
Yes.
That movie.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Had my anxiety levels like so high.
It's also really good because honestly I couldn't predict anywhere where that film was going. It was really, really well done. And this goes back to a conversation we had a while ago about lighting. From what was it, Altered Carbon, I think, when we were talking. I talked about how I didn't really like how there was a lack of light in it.
Yes.
This is a version where it has so much light in every scene, but still is a horrifying thing. It's so good. This is where I love use of lighting. I know most people are like, if it doesn't work, get rid of lighting. But in this one, it's like, we need more lights. It's like, put more lights in. Make it bright, make you feel comfortable, but it's not. It's so unnerving. Even from the beginning is probably the most, like, calm thing you can have, but then they get on the road, and then from that point on, unnerving the entire time.
I'm like, red flag, turn around,
go.
Like, another red flag.
Like, get out,
get out,
get out.
Yeah.
Not the title of the movie. Just get out.
Just leave.
Oh my gosh, the tea scene.
Oh my god.
Where he sunk. I sunk.
The sunken place.
Right.
Oh my god.
Gave me chills. I was like, I feel paralyzed. so good. Yeah.
And then of course, if you want to do,
the cast was amazing too.
Yeah, the cast is amazing in that one. That's something we need to look into. We need to discuss that movie.
Yes.
But if there's like, if you guys want to do another binge night, watch that, and then Us. Us is also really good, and the twist on that one is also really good. So okay, so my next one is a classic that people want to see but never see, and I have mixed opinions about these people. Because they're always like, don't spoil the movie. And I'm like, it's been out for like 30 years. Get over it.
I know.
And that is The Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
I love this movie, in all honesty. I could not predict where that movie was going. And then after you know how it ends, you're paying attention to every detail. Mm-hmm. And it's just so good. I won't spoil it for now. There's another episode where I did spoil it because, you know what, it still makes me angry. I know people... When I start talking about this, I know people who are like, no, don't spoil it. I want to see it. I'm like, it's been out for so long. How have you not been spoiled to it already?
Right.
This is one I give, like, you just have to see it. It's really good. It's creepy. It's, again, told from a perspective of a kid, which is very unnerving in situations like this. But I love The Sixth Sense. It's really good. So, Lucas...
Yes. So, I'm going to. I think the next one I'm going to recommend is a fun little movie that it's in the same vein as Ghostbusters, where it has horror elements, but it's pretty much a comedy. Zombieland. I watched that movie on repeat when I was a kid. That was absolutely hilarious to me. And it still had, like, emotional scenes. It still had just, good backstory. And it was just all around an enjoyable experience. I still need to see Double Tap. But I think it's a very good Halloween movie. Woody Harrelson.
Get your Twinkies. Anyway. Tessa, what's your next suggestion?
My next suggestion is the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It is an all-time classic. I didn't see it until, last year, I think? Maybe the year before?
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I gave you the movie to watch, right?
Right,
yes. Yeah. It is not what I thought it would be.
No.
And it turned out to be something so much better. And I love it so much.
It's such a great cult classic.
Yes. It's
the
iconic.
music is amazing. Tim Curry in it.
Oh my god.
Phenomenal.
Yes.
You can't argue that one. It's so good.
I love it.
I want to see it live. Like, we can't do it now anymore, but like I know that theaters do some fun stuff with it. So next time when theaters start opening, we all need to go see it together.
Absolutely.
I agree.
My next one is a personal favorite. It's another Stephen King. I usually try to avoid putting too many of him on these lists, but it's kind of hard to.
Right.
Because he basically wrote horror.
Right.
So, it's Carrie. Not the new one, though you could watch the new one if you wanted to. I've never seen the new one. I don't really have an intention of seeing the new version. It came in like 2000, sometime around 2010 or after. I can't remember when. It was a while ago. I'm talking about the 80s or something. I'll remember. I'll put it up now. But that version of Carrie is so good. It's really well done. It's really creepy. It's really unnerving. The actress who plays Carrie looks like how I would imagine Carrie being.
Right.
It's really weird how it's both a bullying movie, but also a horror movie.
Right.
But Carrie was one of the first Stephen King books I ever read, and in one of the first movies of his that I watched outside of The Shining. So, highly recommend watching it. It's very disturbing. Yeah, so that's my suggestion. Nice. Lucas, what's your next suggestion?
My next suggestion is definitely more of a traditional horror movie that's just all around full of scares and icky feelings, and that would be The Conjuring.
Classic. That one is actually like weirdly a classic.
Yeah, horror. And it hasn't been out that long. Is it 2010 as well, or around that?
Early 2000s, I think, is when it came out.
The Conjuring.
It built a franchise.
Oh, it did.
Horror movies, you know. So weirdly enough, how new that movie is, it is still a classic in a weird way.
Yeah. Well, and I saw it for the first time, really 2 years ago. And it was genuine. I was really scared, and I knew that it was scary. But I also, I thought that it was going to be more reliant on jump scares, because I feel like with a lot of modern horror movies, you see they're more reliant on it being the shock factor rather than it actually being scary story wise. But no, it was actually genuine. The story was genuinely scary, and I was scared. I was watching it with my friend, and we were both just like holding each other throughout the whole thing, and it was a terrifying experience, and I'm very glad that I saw it, because it shaped how I thought about horror movies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice. Tessa?
For me, I'm going to go with another classic that I recently saw. The Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, that is...
yeah, that's like your classic Halloween...
Slasher.
Right.
That is your slasher.
There it is.
There's your slasher.
Constantly yelling at the at the screen, "Run!
Run!
Get up!
You
Run!
idiot!"
It's one of those ones where you make fun of the fact that they all split up,
like,
too. It's
like,
like,
why
did you split up? You moron!
You suck.
Yeah.
Good choice. That's a good one. Good slasher. Okay, so this one is also a classic, and one that kind of like pops up on my list every year. But that's because I also like to watch it when nobody else is in the house and with the lights completely off, and then I'm paranoid the rest of the night. And that is The Silence of the Lambs.
Oh my
gosh.
I
love this movie. There's so many layers to it, and it's the human factor that is the creepiest thing in the entire world. And I always notice something a little different about it each year I watch it. Sometimes I'll notice like colors or like you know, it's just so good. If you want to terrify yourself, watch it by yourself in the dark. And because it's so scary, honestly.
Gosh. Yeah.
Bet.
Oh my gosh, no.
There's not a lot I can say about it. It's the story of Hannibal Lecter, which there are plenty of versions out there of him, but this is like, in my opinion, the original and the creepiest.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. Just watch it. Just.
I saw it for the first time last year, I think.
That was the first time you watched it?
Yeah, when you recommended it to... Yeah, I saw it on Netflix.
God.
It's suffocating.
I know. It's an entire movie that we could discuss in the future.
Right, oh my gosh.
Okay, so we're going to move on. Lucas, your last suggestion.
Yes, my last suggestion is a relatively new horror film, a pretty new horror film, and it came out, it's a Netflix film, and it's called The Autopsy of Jane Doe. Now, I saw advertisements for this on Netflix, and I was kind of in a horror movie trend. I think it was after I saw Silence of the Lambs, actually. So I was kind of in a horror movie mood, and I was like, you know what? This looks like a good, creepy horror movie. Let's just see what it looks like. Why not? Because I don't think I'd ever consciously sat down and been like, I want to watch a horror movie that hadn't been recommended by someone else. So I was like, let's try it. And I was very pleasantly surprised. It was a really cool story, and it's not...
Is it like murder mystery almost?
You
can't say anything, can you?
No, I can't, because it's a mystery. It is a mystery that just turns into something crazy. Okay. So, I would recommend
on the list.
Yes.
Tessa, your final suggestion.
All right, my final suggestion. It's not so much like Halloween related, but it does have that horror element to it. Is Parasite. It's won numerous awards.
Yeah,
what was it, last year?
Yeah.
I lost track of time. But yeah, Parasite is so good. And
I always forget, this is the director who did Snowpiercer also, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. This was the first film that I've seen by him. And whew, the writing is so good. And also there's like this sense of again, horror, but you not knowing like what side you want to be on, because there's so many like wrongs happening against people in the films that you're like, okay, I can be on their side. I understand that. And then it's like, oh, but what about them?
Right. Everyone's
like,
pretty gray.
It's just chaos.
And I saved this one for last because I think it's a great one to end Halloween on, and that is The Nightmare Before Christmas. Not because it like leads up into Christmas, not because of that, but I just think it's because it's very like light, and it ends October on a higher note than most of the other horror stuff. You watch horror movies and it's kind of depressing in some ways if you watch too many of them at the same time, where it's just like they're all dead, they're all dying, it's like there's nothing good about it. But The Nightmare Before Christmas is really great, and it is a Halloween movie. Get your facts straight, all those people who are like, it's a Christmas movie. No. It's a Halloween movie that has Christmas aspects in it. Right. It's a Halloween movie. And
gosh,
I don't know, this is one from my childhood.
Right.
It never gets old. It's beautiful, whimsical, and adorable.
Right.
Just love it.
Well, you know, last year, I think it was last year, December had a Friday the 13th, and everybody in my D&D group was like,
that was right,
you are obligated to watch The Nightmare Before Christmas.
You have to.
You have to.
You have to.
There's no other way around it.
So good.
Oh, man. But anyway, those are our 31 plus, you know, because we do binge nights, but basically 31 nights of Halloween. Hope you guys liked our list. I hope we had some on here that you haven't seen yet. What are some that are that we didn't mention that we should watch? Let us know in the comments. It'll be
below.
Great. Yes, please.
I think the next one we have to do, because I also do this, is 25 Days of Christmas.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
All the Die Hard
movies. Right? All the Die Hard movies. They're Christmas movies. I will fight anyone. Die Hard is a Christmas movie. I will fight you. It's pure action, but it's set during Christmas. It's a Christmas movie. That'll be the next one we do. Right. December.
Looking forward to it.
25 Nights of Christmas. Those are our 31 movies. Watch them in whatever order you'd like, but like, watch them. I always love October. I love watching horror movies or Halloween movies during the month. It gets you in the spoopy spirit, especially since apparently we're not allowed to go out anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So.
And apparently there's also going to be like a full blue moon on this Halloween.
Oh,
I know.
The Smurfs.
Like
the Smurfs are coming.
Gonna have to watch the Smurfs.
Prepare yourself. The next big disaster is Smurfs. It's just. Wait, before we change the subject, I need to say this. I saw an ad for a movie. I get a lot of indie ad recommendations because I don't watch just normal Hollywood movies. I watch a lot of indie movies. I got one for this one called Save Yourself. I think that's what it is.
Oh, yeah.
And it's this couple who went out in the middle of the woods. This isn't the horror aspect yet. They went out in the middle of the woods to get away from technology, but then they find out that these things are falling from the sky and they look like little balls of puff.
Yeah.
And they're going to destroy the planet. I just saw that and I was like, I need to see this movie.
Oh my god.
I need to see it. It looks so good.
We should do a live reaction.
Oh my god, we should.
I remember seeing ads for that.
You saw the ad for it, right? It's so funny.
That's
It looks so good. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for any and all the suggestions of other Halloween horror type movies that you left in the comments below. Stay tuned, because this month we got some fun special episodes of the Viewers Club coming for you. focused in on the horror. Well, except for 1 week, but you'll get there when we get there.
We shall.
It could be Halloween themed. We don't know. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. I'm Megan.
I'm Tess.
And I'm Lucas.
And you guys have a good.
Have a good.
Have a good.
Don't go out trick-or-treating because the CDC says not to. Don't do it. Just watch horror movies all night. Just do that. Just buy candy. I'm an adult now. I can buy candy.
Wow.